following is a special presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.
Every time you count Evander Holyfield out, he roars back with a vengeance.
An old man has no right to be fighting this way.
First, it was his size. Then it was his heart. Now, it's his age. At 40 years old, the former champ faces critics who say he's too old. But Holyfield answers only to himself, not to Father Time. The former champ isn't the first man to test his biological clock. At the turn of the century, 42-year-old Bob Fitzsimmons knocked out men almost twice his size, believing simply, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The insatiable Archie Moore fought 50 times after his 40th birthday, winning 2 championships, including legendary battles against Canadian Yvonne Durrell. Sugar Ray Robinson, considered maybe the best pound-for-pound boxer of all time, and a rejuvenated Foreman, both found new life after 40.
So some of the old power was still there after all.
I can't believe it.
But history has shown most boxers begin to fade in their 30s.
I don't think Mercer can believe what's happening to him in there.
And those who tempted this fate have risked tarnishing their legacy. Tonight, Holyfield will take this chance to find his destiny. With a title belt on the line, he faces the lightning-quick Chris Byrd, whose style and skill have made him the most avoided man in the heavyweight division. Will Holyfield turn back the clock and become boxing's first 5-belt heavyweight? Or will fate and a hungry southpaw humble one of the most popular fighters ever? With the hands set in motion, tonight, the answer rings loud and clear.
We're back at refurbished Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey for tonight's edition of HBO's World Championship Boxing. Less than 1 month after Arturo Gatti's victory over Mickey Ward here, tonight we have Evander Holyfield against Chris Byrd. They're fighting for a vacant heavyweight title belt. Given the tortured politics of boxing, we can say this with certainty. Lennox Lewis, last seen in the ring defeating Mike Tyson, is the reigning heavyweight champion of the world. Roy Jones will fight John Ruiz for a heavyweight title belt in March. And even if it takes us much of the show, we're going to explain to you how 40-year-old Evander Holyfield attempts tonight to take the first step toward his dream of unifying the heavyweight titles once again. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. We welcome you to this special year-end edition of HBO's World Championship Boxing. It brings to a close what has been a great year of boxing here on HBO in 2002. And in light of that, we want to invite you right now to participate in something which will come to fruition at the end of the evening. Our HBO.com/boxing website poll. You vote for what was your favorite HBO fight in 2002. Just dial on to HBO.com/boxing and tell us, did you like Gatti Ward 1? Lewis versus Tyson? De La Hoya versus Vargas? Do you have a write-in candidate to compete with those three? What was your favorite HBO fight in the year 2002? We'll give you the results at the end of the evening. Meanwhile, in a nutshell, here is the heavyweight title picture as quickly as I can give it to you. When Lennox Lewis defeated Evander Holyfield in Las Vegas in November of 1999, he held all 3 heavyweight title belts. Shortly after that, he was stripped of 1 belt by the WBA for refusing to fight their #1 contender, John Ruiz, an opponent Lewis deemed unworthy. Ruiz and Evander Holyfield have traded the WBA belt since then. Ruiz holds it now. He'll defend it against Roy Jones in the spring. Meanwhile, Lewis entered his fight against Mike Tyson this past June, still holding 2 belts, the WBC and the IBF. After his victory over Tyson, the IBF stripped Lewis because of his refusal to fight their #1 contender, Chris Byrd.
Lewis said, among other things, that he didn't think the fight would be entertaining for the public. So Byrd and Holyfield will fight for that vacant belt in the fight you're about to see. Lewis still holds the WBC belt, still almost universally recognized as the heavyweight champion of the world. His plans in the immediate future have been thrown into a cocked hat after today he seemed to say that he isn't necessarily planning to follow the already established plan of fighting Vitaly Klitschko, then Mike Tyson, then Vladimir Klitschko. We're not sure what Lennox is going to do. We'll talk to him about it, we hope, at the end of the evening. With all that having been said, let's turn to the subject at hand. Evander Holyfield with two-time heavyweight champion of the world and HBO World Championship boxing expert commentator George Foreman. George, fighters like Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali held the heavyweight championship as boxer punchers. Guys like Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis will be remembered for a long time as great power punchers. What is Holyfield's legacy in the sport?
Oh, you got to color him courageous. That I don't think there's been an athlete in any other sport as courageous as Evander Holyfield. He's going up against, no matter how big, tall, and better boxer he's faced him, and never offered any excuse. Courageous. The most courageous of all time.
Brave Evander Holyfield. That courage will be on display once again tonight. Also working with us as always, HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Larry, Evander has said that he's going to continue campaigning in the heavyweight division regardless of whether he wins or loses tonight. Does he risk tarnishing that great legacy that George has talked about?
Great fighters fight on, and then on some more, because it's what they love and do best, and because they can still get well paid for it. Brains will be addled, but the legacies and memories of those fighters in their primes, that can't be addled.
This is the man that Larry Merchant has called the greatest fighter of the last 15 years, Evander Holyfield.
I regard him as that, and I regard Lennox Lewis as the best heavyweight of his time.
All right. Well, for more on Evander Holyfield, his great contribution to boxing, his courage, his will, his determination to keep fighting, and what he expects to get out of it, we asked him to sit down with our Bob Costas. Here's what they had to say to each other.
No one in boxing exemplifies the virtues of heart, courage, and perseverance any more than Evander Holyfield. After 18 years of punishing ring wars, his fire and motivation for staying in the sport remain clear.
Evander, you're 40. It's a brutal game. What keeps you going?
My goal is to be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and that goal was set in 1992 when I lost against Red Bow. I've been in the search of that goal ever since 1992.
Holyfield became heavyweight champion in 1990 by beating Buster Douglas, the man who dethroned Mike Tyson. And in the years that followed, he went toe-to-toe with every elite heavyweight of the past 2 decades.
Left to the jaw and turns things around again. Another left hook and a right.
George Foreman, something of a phenomenon at the time that you faced him. No matter how much you rocked this guy, he was going to stand in there till the final bell.
You know, I hit him with everything. One time I hit him with 18 unanswered punches, and he took it, and he was able to come back. He sold the people an idea. At 40 years old, you're still a human being. You still can fight if you want to. I won, but he won the people's hearts.
Look at Holyfield. What a warrior. Reversing the tide of the battle. The champion now has Bow wobbling.
The trilogy with Riddick Bowe, tremendous rivalry. 3 fights where everybody who showed up got their money's worth. He took 2 out of 3. Does that gnaw at you at all?
Riddick Bowe is one of the bigger, better men that ever put the gloves on. He had good hand speed, good punching power, fight inside and outside. So to have 3 battles with him and for him to win 2, they don't take anything away from him.
Lewis lands a right hand. Holyfield stunned against the ropes.
Lennox Lewis, disputed draw and a loss. What makes you think if you got in the ring with him again that you could handle him?
The first fight, they called it a draw because of the fact that they felt that he didn't do anything. And when it didn't go his way, he acted like a baby, no interviews, just stormed out like a temper tantrum. And then the second fight, the fight was a very contested fight, but everybody know that I beat him that fight.
Along the way, Holyfield was also involved in one of the most bizarre and now infamous moments in all of sports.
You strike me as a very even-tempered guy. So even when Mike Tyson bit your ear twice in one fight. I mean, obviously you were upset at the time, but that doesn't seem to be a big issue with you anymore.
Well, it's not, because I know that I'm not perfect and I know that I make mistakes. I realize that you have to forgive a person, because if you don't forgive them, then you won't be forgiven for what your shortcomings may be. If the person don't forgive you, then you don't have the opportunity to be the very best.
Of all the guys you fought through the years, who, if anybody, did you personally dislike?
Lennox Lewis. He irritated me because he called me a hypocrite. He said, you know, he had these kids out of wedlock, even the fact that I did. But, you know, I felt that he was attacking my character. And people told me some things about him, but I chose not to say anything, because I'm not going to let him turn me into being like him, because I don't assassinate nobody's character.
Following his fights with Lewis, Holyfield looked less than spectacular in 3 bouts with John Ruiz. And even after a more impressive showing against Asim Rahman 6 months ago, questions regarding his age and the safety factor are mounting.
At 40 years old, you're in magnificent shape, but you've been at this a long time. It takes a toll. Do you worry about your long-range health?
Well, you know, my health is good, you know, and I believe that as long as I take this game seriously, and as long as I believe I can become the undisputed heavyweight champion, then I'm doing it for the right reason. But once I take it for granted and say I'm so good that I can't get hurt, well, people get hurt all the time. It's just the fact that me being willing to pay the price that's necessary to be the very best.
As he pursues that perhaps quixotic goal, Holyfield must get by Chris Byrd, the slick lefty he refused to fight until Lennox Lewis vacated the title belt, now at stake tonight.
This fella, Chris Byrd, has kind of a confounding style. He's a southpaw. A lot of people think this guy might give you fits as a matter of style.
He's a very elusive fighter. So the big thing is now is to not try to hit him hard. Try to bait him by hitting him with light punches and make him feel that, you know, hey, shoot, I don't hit no harder than you hit. Then sneak 2 or 3 hard shots on him and surprise him.
What happens if Chris Byrd beats you? Are you done at that point?
I wouldn't be done. I mean, my goal is to be undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. You know, I've been in this situation a long time, and it's not like if this don't happen, they're done. I realized that, you know, I had to get back in line again. Hopefully that I won't have to get in line.
But of course, you want to go on your own terms, whether it's as champion or deciding yourself. You don't want someone to tell you to get out of line. There's no place in line for you anymore. There's no fights of consequence for you anymore.
If that was the case, they would have been told me to get out, because when I fight, the ratings are so high and they know they're gonna make the money. That's the reason why I'm on television today. If the people didn't tune in, I'm sure that they would have wrote me off, but they pay to see what they want to see, and I'm one of the individuals that they pay to see.
And we bring you back to ringside. George Foreman, let's quickly take a look at the dark side of how Evander Holyfield has been seen these past several years, because ever since his first fight with Mike Tyson, there have been many in the sport who've accused him of fouling. So let's look at some of the rough stuff from some of Evander's fights, and you tell me, is he rough or is he dirty?
Both. The guy's had to be rough. Since he's been in boxing, he's been handed one mountain to climb after another. Big giants, slick fighters. He's never complained. Jumped in there and did what he had to do in his mind.
Well, you say big giants. How much of the headbutting and other foul charges against him are simply because he's always fighting against bigger guys?
Well, you put all of the above that we've said. The guy's been there with big guys. He's never offered any excuses. Whenever he's up against a giant, he just said, look, let me sharpen up my head. If you give me a tool to work with, if I got to dig it up out of a ditch, I'll use it.
And he's a natural aggressor, the kind of fighter that in many instances cutie defensive specialist Chris Byrd has eaten for lunch. What must Evander do to fight against Byrd's unique style?
Every time Byrd lands a right, Evander Holyfield has got to land another right. Every time he lands a left, he's got to land another right. He's got to get into a rhythm almost like a dance. I hit you, I hit you, I hit you. Only stop to breathe when he's on the stool. He'll win it easily like that.
So Evander has to counter the counterpuncher.
He's got to counter and make certain he keeps his hand on him at all times. time. Don't be out there waiting for him to do something. Attack, 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 but calm down the punching power and just use energy punches just on time. That's all.
Easier said than done. Let's see if Evander can pull off that tough assignment. Larry Merchant, Evander Holyfield said as recently as 6 months ago that he didn't want to fight Chris Byrd because of Byrd's style. He said this week that he wouldn't be fighting him except for the availability of a title belt. Why is Evander scared of Chris Byrd?
Because Evander Holyfield believes that it's part of a professional fighter's obligation to thrill fans.
To entertain.
To entertain. And Chris Byrd believes that he has to win to bore fans, to put fans and not opponents to sleep. He's got what you might call a bore and snore style, quick and slick. He has tremendous skills in that regard. He tries to frustrate opponents, make them miss, break them down psychologically, make them get out of their own rhythms. He likes to make them look foolish, to clown them, as he calls it. And yet, against David Tua, to his credit, he stood and traded and threw some hard blows. He said he feels like he's more like a heavyweight today than he used to feel. But of course, he's fighting a guy tonight who's his own size. A guy who has shown that you don't have to be a giant to fight giants.
It's a fascinating and intriguing matchup. It could produce a great fight. It could produce a dull fight. We don't know yet. Let's look at the tail of the tape for Evander Holyfield against Chris Byrd. And of course, the big number that jumps out at you, Holyfield now beyond that 40 limit, 8 years older than Chris Byrd. Both of them former Olympians, incidentally. Holyfield is a half-inch taller, has 2.5 more inches in reach, and weighs in 6 pounds heavier than Byrd, who had all of his clothes on and said to us, I think Holyfield is maybe 8 or 10 pounds heavier than me coming into the ring.
Holyfield told us that he went to training weighing 208. He's the only fighter I've ever heard of who consistently puts on weight during training.
If there's another heavyweight who does that, it's probably Byrd. Meanwhile, rules of the bout with our unofficial scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Evander Holyfield-Chris Byrd fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. In case a cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards after 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
All right, Harold, given the right to choose in this battle for a vacant title belt, Chris Byrd elected to walk to the ring first and then wait for Holyfield to enter as long as he could be introduced second by ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr. He preferred the ceremonial edge of being introduced in the champion's position.
Byrd comes from a fighting family. He's the last of 8 children. His father was a professional fighter and a coach of an American Olympic team.
And in fact, Byrd was on the 1992 Olympic team in Barcelona, where he competed for the United States at 165 pounds. And then, upon turning professional, said to himself, well, I won't make much money as a light heavyweight. Why don't I just go ahead and become a heavyweight? And added 35 pounds in weight to come up to this division.
And because of his style, he's never been a gate attraction. You have to give him credit, at the very least, for some patience and perseverance to get to this point where he's finally making some serious money, a couple of $1 million.
Beaten only by 2 explosive punchers, Ike Ibeabuchi and Vladimir Klitschko. So how explosive is Evander Holyfield at this stage of his career? Can he come into the ring and simply detonate Byrd, as did Ibeabuchi and Klitschko? For his part, Evander says, probably not. I'll have to fight a boxing match against him. And that is quite an admission.
He put it in an interesting way. He said, you punch at the target instead of trying to punch through the target.
Well, and you heard George Foreman talk about just trying to get the gloves on Byrd, hit him with whatever punch you can hit him with, and don't worry about power. And Evander seemed to suggest he'd be trying to do something like that.
Evander Holyfield is one of those fighters who is absolutely obsessed with owning belts, it gives him incentive, and for him to have a goal still to unify the titles at the age of 40 tells you just how remarkable he is.
Well, the interesting coincidence there is that just like Roy Jones in 1988, Holiyfield is perceived to have been robbed of a probable Olympic gold medal in Los Angeles in 1984. And just like Jones, as a professional, he's been obsessed with belts. Fans in attendance, mostly here to root for the Warrior, wondering how many chances they'll get to do it in the future.
Only 4,000 or 5,000 tickets sold tonight. We understand a far different atmosphere than 3 weeks ago when we had Ward and Gaddy to a full house, sold out for weeks, great electricity. But it is Evander Holyfield, and out there in television land, presumably on this cold winter night, a lot of folks are tuning in.
Well, let's go to ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr. and see if he can generate some electricity with his official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you and welcome to Boardwalk Hall here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, as it's time for the featured bout of the evening, brought to you by Don King Productions in association with Caesars Atlantic City, Fight Night Inc., HBO Sports, and CM Exchange of Chicago. This bout is sanctioned by the IBF, the President Marion Muhammad, Supervisor Ray Wheatley, along with the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board Commissioner Larry Hazard, Chairman Gerard Gormley. Introducing to you our three judges scoring this bout from ringside: Eugene Grant, John Stewart, and Steve Weisfeld, with our third man in the ring, the referee in charge of the action, working in this, his 29th world title bout, Randy Newman. All right, fans, here we go. The time has come for the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the vacant IBF Heavyweight Championship of the world. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Atlantic City, it is fight time! Introducing to you first on my left, he is fighting out of the blue corner, entering the ring wearing white trunks, hailing from and representing his home of Atlanta, Georgia. He weighed in at 220 pounds. His record stands at 38 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws, with 25 wins coming by way of knockout. Having held the heavyweight title and unequaled 4 times, he is known as one of boxing's great warriors. Currently ranked the #2 IBF contender, here is the former undisputed cruiserweight world champion and the former 4-time heavyweight champion of the world, introducing the one and only Evander, the real deal Holyfield. And his opponent across the ring on my right, ready to fight out of the red corner, wearing blue trunks, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada by way of Flint, Michigan. He weighed in at a ready 214 pounds with a record of 34 wins and 2 losses. He has 19 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBO heavyweight world champion, the current IBF #1 ranked heavyweight. Here is the classy top contender, introducing Chris B4rd. And once again, a referee in charge, Randy Newman, now to give instructions.
Okay, gentlemen, you're both familiar with the rules. We've gone over them. I want you to remember 2 things. Obey my commands. Most importantly, defend yourselves at all times. Now shake hands and come out of the bell.
Many casual fans who don't know much about Chris B4rd And even some serious fans who do will be surprised, if not shocked, that at the last call in Las Vegas, Bird is more than a 2-to-1 favorite tonight.
There's more than 5,000 fans here tonight also. A lot more.
A lot of paper in the house too, George.
Crowd rising in energy as Randy Newman prepares to summon the fighters to the center of the ring, and here they come. If you haven't seen Bird before, instantly see the southpaw stance. Holyfield has had 3 previous fights against southpaws in his professional career. 2 of them, of course, in the heavyweight division against Michael Moorer. Won 1, lost 1. Bird, an entirely different kind of fighter than Moorer, though. Not a power puncher like the former heavyweight champ who was knocked out by George Foreman.
Bird has got to get in there and show sometime at some point or another that he can punch, stand up to these big guys and get a knockdown. Don't just be counted on to run and get out of the way and duck. That's what he should do tonight. Step up to the bat. Evander Holyfield has got to make certain that he doesn't allow this guy to move to his right. He's very weak on his right side. He seems not to be able to see shots over there.
On Holyfield's right side.
Holyfield's right side is very weak.
So in other words, if Bird moves to his left, he's going to the side where Holyfield has trouble defending himself.
That's right, and Holyfield can't seem to, he's not lost coordination on that side for some reason.
Meanwhile, Bird starts out moving in exactly the opposite direction, rotating from left to right, and slams Holyfield with a straight left hand.
That's good. Holyfield's got to get busy. You got to make certain this guy's elbows are never out overextended. Keep those elbows sharp. Taps you close.
Bird lands a straight left hand. Holyfield lands a left hook on Bird against the ropes. Evander, for his part, says, I must focus on the body. When you miss against Bird, you tend to miss upstairs, and it wears you out when you miss big shots against him. My idea, says Evander, go to his body and just try to keep my hands on him. But he's going upstairs and missing.
Well, that's not so bad for him upstairs because Bird is not that tall. He's been missing guys who are a lot taller. This time he's going to land a lot more shots than he normally does with the taller guys. The referee is going to have to make certain that those are not backhands with that right jab that Bird is throwing.
Well, it's a fine line. It's a fine line because he lays it out there more or less with the hand open, and Bird is such a soft puncher. I mean, he's really trying most of the time simply to make some impact.
But he's thrown more hard punches in this round than he normally does, particularly earlier in the fight.
Holyfield got in his best punch to the body so far, a left hook to the ribcage under Bird's right elbow.
And that's Evander Holyfield's best punch, if you ask me, that left hook to the body.
Totally agree.
Holyfield trying to make the counter-puncher come to him.
Hard right hand by Holyfield. Drives Bird to the ropes. Bird ducks another punch as the round comes to a close.
That's what he's going to do. The last 30 seconds, he's going to try to rush you. Keep him inside of the ring. He can't touch you out there. You need to get in close to do what he got to do, okay?
How do you feel? I feel great.
Yeah, you got to keep that jab, knowing with it. Just knowing with it, and drop that left hand. You know what you got to do. You got to touch it
on the other side.
Any more?
Holyfield lands a right toward the end of the round. You wonder if that will influence the scoring of that round. Very difficult rounds to score. Incidentally, you saw Chris Bird's mother and father in the corner with him between rounds.
Brother Patrick also plays a role in there. Mother Rose, Father Joe, fixtures in the Bird corner. CompuBox numbers in round 1. Holyfield only 6 of 29 by CompuBox estimate. Bird 13 out of 47. Yet Harold Letterman, perhaps influenced by that sharp right hand toward the end, elected to give the round to Evander.
I gave it to Bird.
Well, a lot of these rounds figure to be tough to score.
The judge, Letterman, has been pretty much right on the number these days. It's hard to go against him.
Byrd sticking the jab. Holyfield still trying to determine exactly what he wants to do against Byrd.
He's trying to make him come forward.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Shot.
And here comes Holyfield lashing out and hitting Byrd with a right hand to the chest. Yeah, elaborate on this, George, because it looks as though he's trying to lull the counterpuncher.
Counterpunchers love to make you miss first, and then they hit you with something. That's what you got to do, is make them throw something, and then start countering on them occasionally, and you make them give it up.
So Holyfield is purposely staying back and trying to lure Byrd to him.
Right, counterpunchers love to duck. The best one will tell you, I'll do it, let me duck first. A good straight left by Byrd that time.
Yeah. Byrd popping and spinning, popping and spinning.
If you Holyfield, you don't want him to get that kind of courage to just stand there and just don't do anything. You got to touch him, if nothing else.
Holyfield short with the winging right. Byrd still just popping the jab, little straight left hand. Just trying to get his hands onto Evander and score.
Byrd's corner told him, look, stay in the middle of the ring. He can't get you out there. And Holyfield needs that close to the ropes to land 2 shots to Byrd. Misses him if he's out in the middle, but if he's close to the rope, he's going to land that 1-2 combination. And that was a rope, and he didn't do anything.
A lot of distance between Byrd and Evander fighting this way. At some point, does Holyfield have to get closer, George?
He's got to keep the fight close at all times. Byrd does not like close fighting.
Yeah, but the thing is, Holyfield's trying to fight not his fight. This is not the kind of fight that Evander Holyfield has ever fought before, as long as I can remember, of trying to go on a defensive and lure the other fighter into him consistently.
Well, he's always been in with the bigger guys who's attacking him anyway. So it's pretty much what he likes, you to come after him. He'll beat you up. He just doesn't go after people as well. Love for you to try him.
I mean, this is a very big round for Byrd.
Yes, in the second round, Holyfield has looked too passive, too hesitant, and Byrd has been able to score. This Tuesday on Real Sports, Bryant Gumbel goes head-to-head with Martha Burke, leading the campaign to allow women as members at Augusta National, home of the Masters.
The good old days are gone from Augusta. And as soon as they face that, they're going to be better off, and golf will be better off.
And December 27 on the record with Bob Costas returns with a special edition, looking back at 2002 and speaking with some of the top newsmakers of the year. Serena and others. CompuBox numbers in round 2. Look at that. Holyfield throwing 14 and by CompuBox estimate landing 1. That was the right hand to the heart. Byrd 21 out of 59, 36%. So just as I say that the rounds would be difficult to score, you get an open and shut case. But this fight could change several times, it seems to me, as Holyfield explores tactics against Byrd.
Byrd is no longer throwing the kind of little pity-pat feather duster punches he used to. He may not be throwing big, heavy punches, but he's throwing sharp punches.
Now Holyfield is starting to get a little more activity going.
Looks like he wants to go to war a little bit, George.
Yeah, you just can't land the hard shots. Just settle for the mid-range shots just to make certain that you touch this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let the ref say break.
Evander, 2 right hands upstairs, 2 digging left hooks to the body. Another digging left hook to the body.
Now, Evander Holyfield is fighting the right kind of fight, but you don't want to be throwing too much energy away with the power. He's fighting them the correct way, but too much energy in those shots. You got to step back and breathe once you do that.
It was interesting on the ropes how Byrd held his gloves up around his head to avoid Holyfield's head.
I think he was trying to avoid Holyfield's punches.
Well, maybe that
maybe
too.
Both. Hey, maybe both, guys. You know, it makes sense.
Byrd himself said that he didn't want to focus in any way, shape, or form on the question of whether Holiyfield, but he'll leave that to the referee and just try to box him.
Holiyfield does for allowing Byrd to box, relax when he wants. He just can't do that with that.
There's the first headbutt of the fight.
There's a fight, let's go.
And Byrd turns to Randy Newman and says, do something.
The old guy using his head.
His back is against the rope. You gotta hit him. You just gotta hit him.
Is this the kind of fight that Evander Holyfield was worried about when he said he didn't want to fight a guy with this style, George?
Yeah, because this guy lifts his right hand up every now and then, doesn't do anything, keeps you ducking and dodging, and makes you look foolish once you decide I'm going to hit him.
Good body
to the
punch
belly.
by Byrd.
Outstanding left to the belly, right in the center of the gut.
Now Holyfield decides that whenever Byrd throws his right, Holyfield has got to throw his right. You just can't wait and try to jab with him. Make it a dance.
Well, after a first minute of aggression, Evander Holyfield seemed to go back into that shell for the remaining 2 minutes of the round.
Keep working head. You got to run that hand.
Try to frustrate him. He uses his head like crazy.
Yeah, don't get down in there. You know you're going to use his head.
in the paper about that.
Give me a towel, Rose. Don't let him get his head in there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Don't let that head in there. So you letting the head get in. Don't go on the rope. Keep him in the sun and rain. He lost that day. He can't get his head in the sun and rain.
He can back you up. There's no need for you backing up.
Punching combinations, baby. That's all you gotta do. Get close, little easy punching.
There's the first clash of heads as Holyfield comes in aggressively, trying to get into the chest of Byrd. And there's that straight left body punch by Byrd.
And you heard the conversation between Chris Byrd and his dad about Evander Holyfield's head. Harold, how do you have the first three?
Okay, Jim, 29-28, 2 rounds to 1, Chris Byrd. Jim, let me tell you something about scoring this fight. You know, basically speaking, I always say that the most important factor in judging a round is clean, effective punching. When you're judging a Evander Holyfield fight, basically what you're trying to figure out is who's doing more damage. In round 1, when Evander landed those big shots at the end of the round, he did more damage in a round. But 2 and 3, clearly Byrd rounds. One other thing about the rules, you're not allowed to spin a guy. If you spin a guy and you hit him, then the referee should take away a point.
Holyfield getting in another digging left hook to the body and getting Byrd's attention with that right hand body shot as well.
Byrd is real good at spinning, but he's not one of these foul guys. After he spins, he never tries to hit you. That's good about it.
Chris Byrd he's certainly got the personality and the temperament of a great sportsman. There's no bigger fan of boxing among all boxers in the world than Chris Byrd, as was evidenced partially by the fact that he was there at ringside last Saturday night to watch Vladimir Klitschko and Jamil McLean 1 week removed from coming here to fight Evander Holyfield. He's just a fan who can't resist the sport.
That's why he's learned how to operate with that style he has. It's awkward. He knows it's awkward. And you get a guy who stands back and wait for you, you can beat him all night. And that's what Evander Holyfield is doing wrong tonight, standing back waiting.
Well, the story's been told many times of how Byrd and his brothers were trained to box in an 11-foot by 14-foot basement room.
Now Evander's picked up his right hand leads.
There it goes.
Got to bring that right foot a little closer to your left and start leading with the right hand.
Interesting shift in momentum here. Holyfield getting Byrd's attention with body punches.
And he's hitting him in the chest, too. That's a good shot for Evander. Evander's corners better tell him after those break, the ref tell you to break, you got to be the first one to get back on the guy. Don't let him be the first one.
Hard left hand from Bird, hard right hand from Holyfield. Now Bird popping the jab right onto Evander's chin. Very accurate punching there by Chris Bird.
And stiff jabs.
Come in here.
Holyfield finding that to hit Bird in the head is like trying to catch a butterfly with tweezers. It's very, very hard.
Very easy if you take the power off the shot. Stop trying to hit him with a big shot.
And Holyfield gets in 4 shots to punctuate the round after Bird had spent the previous minute beating Evander to the punch. Tracy Bird, wife of Chris, mother of 3, looking on from ringside like her husband, huge fan of the sport. There's one of the Bird progeny. Only one old enough to come to the fights. Looks worried.
Yeah, don't let him do that to you, the lads. He's trying to steal around the whole Ali.
In the hip? Throw your hook in a way to where it works, okay? Clean up the water when you're done. Yes, sir. Throw your hook in the way it works, okay?
Soft hook, hard right hand.
Quick, soft, quick, quick, quick. Bing, 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 bing.
4 tactical rounds in the books, all of them interesting. Ebb and flow, shifting tides of fortune. Evander Holyfield with a 12-8 CompuBox edge in power connects in that last round. Several of those connects within the last 10 seconds of the round.
That referee is staying right out of the way. I like those kind of referees. Let the fighters make the shot.
Well, it's Randy Newman, a former heavyweight himself.
Holyfield's corner told him to tap with the hook. Straight right hand. He's still throwing it powerfully like that.
Well, that's because Bird frustrates opponents. And when they get within range, they can't resist trying to overcome their frustration and hit them a hard punch.
But with a boxer like Evander Holyfield with that kind of experience, you got to know to take direction from your corner.
Chris Bird is backing Evander Holyfield up. What is that?
Well, it's not a backup. It's going in a circle, as you see.
Okay.
It's circle. The old square circle, as they call it.
But he's not getting away from Bird's jab, which Bird is just sticking into his face over and over and over.
Because it's kind of a backhand punch there.
Yep.
I guess the ref just doesn't want to get into it now, but at some point or another, you want to check him with that backhand.
Break her out of there. Step back.
You're saying it's not a legal blow unless he balls the fist and hits him with a bunch of gloves.
Occasionally he does it correctly, then he switches off the backhand like that. Almost happened then.
Well, what he used to do was a kind of slap boxing, George. He's closing his fist some, but he's not throwing punches with mean intentions, but he's throwing sharp punches like that.
He's landed virtually every significant punch in this round.
Holyfield is just looking for one hard shot. That's the way you don't want to fight these counter punches, looking for one shot. Got to throw 5 of them. Tap, 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 tap. Got him on the corner.
Right hand grazed Bird. That one also a glancing blow. The body shots are landing. Now he gets a right hand in upstairs. Left hand to the body was a solid blow. Right hand on the top of the head. Bird decides to throw back. Holyfield laying in and attacking.
Now he lets him be the first one back. That's the mistake Holyfield keeps making. He allows Bird to be the first one back after these exchanges. He's got to be first.
Takes energy to do that.
Yeah, but you just got to suck it up and get some energy here.
Holyfield comes forward with his head and catches Bird on the point of the chin with the top of his head after Bird had landed 2 or 3 straight punches. Bird popping and popping. Holyfield had the one big rally, but the rest of the round was Chris Bird sticking the jab.
Put towel on him, put the water on his head.
Deep breath.
All you gotta do is take charge. Be first. Be first.
Little water, just a little bit. Okay, no water.
So just take it.
Remember the last few seconds now.
Don't get on them ropes.
Here, Holiyfield has a moment on the ropes trying to bully Bird. How effective is he? It's almost like trying to pick up a wet bar of soap in the shower because he is just so slippery.
CompuBox numbers in round 5. Bird 19 out of 57. Holyfield 11 out of only 27. The heavyweight average for punches thrown in a round is 47. Holyfield hasn't gotten there yet or anywhere near it in any of these rounds as he hunts and pecks and looks for opportunities against Chris Bird. And George, for a while there, you said he was looking to land one big shot. He's going against a guy who's made his whole career out of never catching that one big shot.
And because he's in with bigger guys think, hey, I can beat you, you can't punch, and they go for the big shot. You got to just make yourself a little guy like he faced as a middleweight. Just imagine yourself as a middleweight and throw shots effective. Don't just try to throw them hard. You can't miss it if you're Evander Holyfield.
You mentioned Bird's only 2 losses. He himself says he made a mistake against Ike Biabuchi and got caught with a punch that he shouldn't have been hit with. But he says that Vladimir Klitschko noticeably shortened up his punches for the purpose of just connecting with Bird, and he said that was a good strategy on Vladimir's part.
Yeah, well, a lot of people were down on Vladimir Klitschko last week because of that disappointing fight against an opponent who didn't come to fight. But just imagine that he took 11 out of 12 rounds from Bird and then knocked him down twice and just beat him up badly.
Holyfield looking for opportunities here in the 6th, and there's a low blow.
Let's go.
The ref is saying, I'll let you guys box, I'll let you guys fight, I'm going to stay out of the way, but don't go low, don't rabbit punch.
Bird sticking the jab, straight left hand, beating Holyfield to the punch over and over. Holyfield waiting again.
When Bird goes to the body, that's insurance that Holyfield will not be strong in the last 3 rounds. Not only is he boxing him, but he's going to the body, which is very wise.
Holyfield lands a right upstairs as Bird was hitting him with left hook, or left cross, I should say, to the head. One of the bigger punches of the fight for Holyfield, but he took punches in return to get it in.
Holyfield's corner told him to be first. Get back and be first. That's the first time he's done it.
Fighting against a southpaw, Holyfield goes straight right hand, straight right hand, straight right hand.
You can't miss it.
Bird goes straight left hand and shows that the opposite is true as well.
Hey, stop punching. Let's go.
Through half this fight, Bird has made Evander Holyfield look about 50.
Hey, Larry, I'm 50.
That's what I said.
January 16 on HBO Latino. Look for the premiere of a new series called Boxeo de Oro, presented and promoted by the not 50 Oscar De La Hoya. This monthly boxing series will feature up-and-coming Hispanic fighters. The first show, Jose Navarro against Carlos Madrigal and Oscar Larios against Marcos Licona. And then January 25, World Championship Boxing is back. Welterweight champ Vernon Forrest, Shane Mosley's nemesis, taking on belt-holder Ricardo Mayorga. Rough customer. Also, the long-anticipated fight between cruiserweight champ Vasily Girov and former middleweight champion James Toney. Saturday, Jan 25. That's our next HBO World Championship Boxing show. Halfway through a 12-round fight. In the 6th round, Holyfield, by CompuBox estimate, threw 18 punches, and Bird threw 61, landing 12 of 49 jabs. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, 5 rounds to 1, 59-55, Chris Byrd. Jim, I just think he's jabbing him to death with that right jab. But I got to tell you something about the rules. George Foreman said something very interesting. You're not allowed to open the boxing glove, just like George told you. You got to keep it closed. Now, at times, when Byrd throws that right jab, he opens the glove. Now, Randy Newman should warn him about that. If he keeps opening the glove, you take away a point. Under the rules, you must keep the glove closed.
Well, you know, I think it's abundantly clear by now that Randy Newman isn't going to warn him for opening the glove, despite the fact that he continues to do it.
Well, when it lands on Foreman's head, the glove closes.
You mean on Holyfield's head?
On Holyfield's head.
And if he comes over,
George.
If he comes over and punches Foreman, it'll probably close there too.
Right, step back. We have to swap.
Does this remind you just a little bit of Jimmy Young and you, George? I hate to bring it up, but Jimmy Young was a right-handed version of Chris Byrd.
I think Chris Byrd is in a league of his own.
That fight, George Foreman against Jimmy Young, was March 17, 1977 in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Memorable night. Launched George Foreman into the next incarnation of his existence, which was out of boxing for 10 years, and then he came back. What a story.
Beat the devil out of me. Evander is allowing this guy to just relax and do whatever he wants. Trying to counterpunch you. You just can't do it.
One of the discussions before the fight was reflexes. You have to have great reflexes to fight a quick counterpuncher like Byrd, and does Evander still have that?
No, you can't fight him with reflexes. You got to fight him with momentum. You got to get your chest right there on your head right there on your chest. Keep it there all night and throw some kind of punches.
Why is he not doing it?
I don't understand. What kind of training has he had?
No, I don't think that's it at all. I just think Evander can fight the big heavyweights because they don't move a lot. He can find a strategy against this guy. He just looks old. Just isn't there. You know, in a way, it's a heavyweight version of the lightweight fight we saw last week between Mayweather and Castillo. But it's more interesting because of the great personality and great fighter that Evander Holyfield is in America.
And you're saying that just as Mayweather was too quick and slick for Castillo, therefore Byrd is too quick and slick for Holyfield.
And he's even throwing harder punches than Mayweather did last week. And Holyfield looks discouraged as he goes to his corner.
You okay? Yeah, okay.
You got to get close. You got to get close and you got to punch. Throw straight punches. Don't throw the hook. Straight in front of you. Bing, bing, bing. Get close and throw them straight.
Tim, you're letting him know there's something wrong with his left shoulder. Don't do that. If you're going to do it, put it on the front.
More water?
A couple of things in Holyfield's corner. One, they're putting ice on his shoulder.
5-6 punches at a time.
And secondly, he didn't sit down in the corner for the first time in the fight. What reason could there be for that, George?
Second round, he hasn't sat down.
Yeah.
International feed for Don King overseas, being announced by veteran blow-by-blow announcer Bob Sheridan, also called the Colonel, and one Lennox Lewis, who accepted $1 million from Don King as step-aside money not to fight Byrd, along with a Range Rover, and as part of that deal is participating in honoring and being a part of the public presentation of the two fights that King has paired together, this and Jones-Ruiz. We'll try to talk to Lennox later. Round 8 begins with more Byrd popping at Holyfield from long distance, and we heard Don Turner, Holyfield's trainer, saying, you got to get close.
You got to get close, and you got to have heart, and that's what he's losing now. Gone to his corner twice and hasn't sit down on the stool. Generally, when a fighter starts off sitting down on the stool and doesn't go back, something is wrong. He's discouraged.
He looks like a lot of guys have looked in the late rounds after having been flummoxed by Chris Byrd. And now Byrd is starting to smile and laugh.
Evander's turned southpaw.
And that's what Byrd was smiling and laughing about, obviously.
Yep, you're right. There's the southpaw stance.
I don't recall Evander doing that. He probably has somewhere in his career. But this seems like an act of desperation.
He's gotten discouraged, very discouraged.
He's looking for better punching angles. He told us that he would hope that he could get Byrd to square up shoulder to shoulder against him. That's only happened 2 or 3 times.
Well, you saw what he had in mind. He tried to trick Byrd into range for a big left hook. It grazed or just missed Byrd, and now he goes back to his conventional style.
If only Chris Byrd could punch, he could end this fight.
For all we know, George, the fight may be over.
What a feather it would be in Byrd's cap if a guy regarded as a non-puncher knocked out Evander Holyfield, who's regarded as having one of the greatest chins ever.
And that's the way you fight these guys. Don't throw big punches, just win every round. That's what Evander should have been doing with Chris Byrd all along. Stop trying to win the guy, knock him out, win rounds.
Byrd, from time to time, embarrassing Holyfield with his greater quickness in there.
That's that backhand with that straight backhand again. I mean, slap backhand.
As I said, he's going to get away with that. Randy Newman is not going to stop that. Right hand landed over the top. Byrd kind of looked down disgustedly as if, how did I let myself get hit?
You see how easy it is to hit him with a shot? Byrd to get tagged when you don't throw power.
Well, and if you go to the body instead of to the head, too.
I don't think it's easy at all. Because if it would be easy, Evander would have found out a way to do it by now.
He just does not believe in throwing little shots, Larry.
He lands a right uppercut as Byrd gets brave and comes in. Holyfield momentarily landed the uppercut, but all in all, another one-sided, largely Byrd round, at least to our eyes.
How you feel? You feel all right?
How about that?
Now you're going into the deep water now. So you got to really make him work. He done turned every way. He done lost everything now. He tried to go south.
He done got desperate now.
Yep.
You got
so he getting
the last 3
desperate. You have to watch
seconds.
his desperate fighter. Because he
Punch. Don't wait for him. Punch. Bang. Bang. Bang.
You gotta throw it.
Make yourself a commitment to get
You
close.
ain't got no game here if you don't. You gotta throw it.
Get close and stay close. Stay close to him.
This is Chris Byrd's version of a bird in hand. And the bird in hand for him is Evander Holyfield.
Well, if it were a jabbing contest, they'd stop it. In the 8th round, Holyfield landed 1 of 11 jabs by CompuBox estimate. Byrd 18 out of 50. And you saw the numbers that showed that Holyfield, by CompuBox estimate, has landed only 3 jabs in the whole fight. Of course, it's hard to do it against southpaws. It's particularly hard to do it against this one.
That Byrd is as foxy as they get. Got his eyes wide open.
Hard right hand by Holyfield. Byrd takes the shot pretty well. I mean, you got to be hoping you can turn it around with 1 punch against him, and if he takes a punch well, how are you going to do that?
Holyfield just starts to get a little rhythm where he bobs to the, moves to his left and throws his hook, moves to his right, throws his right hand.
Byrd is just carving Evander Holyfield up like a Christmas turkey.
Operating at a high level of concentration.
Byrd jabs him right to the chest, too. Those punches hurt, takes your power away from your jab, does everything you don't want to have done to you.
Holyfield finally gets him squared up. Lands 1 right hand, might have been partially blocked by Byrd's glove. Shot to the body. Byrd goes into that peekaboo act. I'm here, but I'm not here.
Holyfield is just trying to get in one desperate shot. That's all. No longer try to win. One desperate. When you get desperate like that, that's when you get hurt.
I asked Evander if during their early days with main events he ever got into the ring with Pernell Whitaker. He said no, he never actually tried to spar with Whitaker. That would have been too frustrating for him. He may feel after tonight as though he's been in the ring with Pernell Whitaker.
That's right. Weighing in a little heavier there.
Look at Bird laughing and smiling at us as he pops Evander at the same time. Evander just trying to rip everything he can with those left hooks. Crowd starting to warm to Bird a little bit.
This guy's been allowed to rest all he wants.
Chris Bird said it would be an easy fight. So far, it is.
This is what you gotta do. Every time you get close, you're in the ball game. You gotta punch him.
You're gonna fight,
Combination.
You're gonna fight this guy with one hand all night long. You're gonna get your feet up there, get close enough so the shoulder don't hurt, and let him go.
You don't have any time to wait. That's just the bottom line, brother. It's up to you. Whatever you do, we love and respect you. Because you don't have any more rounds to give away. That's just all there is to it.
Give away nothing.
Right now, you need to think like an amateur, and you got 3 rounds to think like an amateur. 2 rounds left.
That's right.
Like you did in 9 minutes, brother.
Come on. Come on, champ. Come on, champ.
Amateur.
Do what you do best, man. Fight. Do what you
Forget about it. Go for it.
CompuBox estimate in round 9. Bird threw 52 jabs and landed 14, 70 total punches in the round. Evander Holyfield throwing a total of 27 punches according to CompuBox and landing 8. These numbers are mind-numbingly one-sided at this point. Harold, how about your scorecard?
Okay, Chip, 8 rounds to 1, 89-82. Chris Bird just jabbing him to death with that right hand.
I wonder if the official scorecards won't be closer.
You see Bird is doing this, is jabbing this guy to his chest and in the side of his arms. So even his jab will not be effective anymore. He's taking everything away from Evander Holyfield. Power, discouraged him, and everything.
Well, we've often talked about this, George. It would appear the boxing match has been decided. So it would be up to Holyfield at this point to get in there and try to make it a fight.
I don't think he can do anything. He's allowed this guy to jab him in the chest area too much. He doesn't have that power anymore. This guy's just sucked it away from him like a syringe. If he'd only been just throwing headshots, it'd have been a different story.
Holyfield trying to sledgehammer Bird with body shots.
Hit him low. Let's get him up.
And Randy Newman says you hit him low. Hey, watching what you're watching here, George, do you suspect Lennox Lewis didn't want to fight Bird solely because he thought the public wasn't interested in the fight? Or do you suspect he wanted to stay away from that style?
Yeah, well, it's been the whole history of boxing. Stay away from southpaws, stay away from southpaws who can box. This is something odd to have one of these guys in a title position like that.
The other side of it is that if Chris Bird goes on to win this fight in what could be a virtual shutout, he then becomes a more important potential opponent for Lewis. Remember, the big guys are the ones who have given Bird the trouble. He was behind 7 rounds to 2 to Vitaly Klitschko when he retired with a shoulder injury. He lost 11 out of 12 rounds to Vladimir Klitschko.
Manny Bayabuchi, who scored a KO over him, was 240 pounds plus himself. Right hand grazes Bird. Holyfield digs the left hook to the body. His very best punches have been his left hook to the body, and that follows the book. It's been Evander's best punch his whole career. Bird just knocking him back with straight punches again. Evander trying to counter with one big shot.
got hurt that time.
Don't let him do that to you. Don't let him do that.
This Tuesday, look for Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. Among the stories, a profile of the Maloof brothers. I'm reading here, they're rich beyond belief. They own one of Las Vegas's hottest casinos, plus the Sacramento Kings, and they're bachelors to boot. What is it, a bachelor segment? No, it's Real Sports. December 27 on the record with Bob Costas returns with a special edition, looking back at 2002 with some of the year's newsmakers. Serena?
Do you want to act?
Yeah, I've been actually doing a lot of acting. I have a Hollywood agent. I'm really serious. I have a coach. I know everybody's laughing.
I'm just laughing because you're laughing.
Evander Holyfield isn't laughing.
That may have been his most effective round, the last of that round.
Yeah, if you were looking for a round, if you were judging, you were looking for a round to give to Holyfield, that would have been the one, because he landed some crunching punches toward the end of the round. CompuBox numbers through 10. Holyfield 72 out of 250, 29%. Bird 192 out of 589, 33%. More than doubling Holyfield's punch output. That's the big number there.
Holyfield gets rough with this guy and starts throwing those hard shots. Better do it now.
He can be rough. Well, 6 minutes to go. Whatever Evander's got, I'm sure his corner has asked him for it.
Well, he's asking himself for it. Is it there?
He had Bird hanging on there at the last of that round. Now he can just go back to where he left off.
Holyfield gets Bird cornered, catches him with the right hand. Trying to detonate Chris Bird the way a big puncher like Ibanvucci did when he caught him on the ropes in Tacoma.
Bird's got to step up and fight this man. Don't run him away anymore.
That's what he's doing.
Back him up. Back him up.
That's what he's doing right here. Bird's trying to make a retaliatory statement at this moment.
And I think if he just put together some hard shots, he'll be happy about this round. Just put some power on him. Make him respect you. If he doesn't respect you, make him respect you.
Well, Evander has emerged from his discouragement and has gone back to fighting up tempo, so it's up to Bird to try to reintroduce him to that discouraged frame of mind.
That's what you got to do, but put a little power in there. Combination. It was Bird who initiated that hug.
I know you're rooting for Evander, George, but he's a no-hooper right now.
Get back, Evander.
Who are you rooting for, Larry?
I'm just looking at the fight.
All right, then. Why do you think I'm?
Because
I'm
you keep telling us what Evander
I'm telling you what I see.
Okay.
I'm not pulling for anyone. I like both of these guys.
I mean, you want to see Holyfield do his best and do better.
I want the fans to see the best.
We all do. We all do, but it doesn't look like anything is there.
Yeah, he got him a few shots. You're going to have to bleed. You're going to have to catch some shots. But
there's a hard right hand by Holyfield.
Never open a boxing match. Never open.
And he catches Bird with a left hook. And once again, Bird is rocked by the impact of these punches as he was at the end of the last round. And he tries to turn around and retaliate. And Evander catches him with another big shot. Chris Bird got caught with 3 huge shots in the last 15 seconds of that round. And now we'll see if Holyfield can capitalize on that in the 12th.
My guess, it's his last hurrah. There he is, tired, desperate, almost on his last legs. Still Evander Holyfield. He's not going to leave anything outside the ring. He's going to put it all out right in here.
Holyfield managed to throw 48 punches in the 11th round. That's his biggest output of the entire fight. Byrd threw 81. Harold, how do you have it through 11?
Okay, Jim. 107, 102, 8 rounds to 3. Chris Byrd. Jim, I thought Evander did enough to pull out rounds 10 and 11. Maybe I was being a little bit generous in the 10th, but certainly Evander wins rounds 1, 10, and 11 on my card. Chris Byrd, all the others. Chris Byrd, basically because of the fact that he gets off first, like you see here, clean, effective punching.
I have him 9 rounds to 2.
Well, you heard Don Turner between rounds saying to Evander Holyfield, catch him in a corner. He wants to catch him in a corner and mug him.
That's not an easy task. This guy moves. Byrd even think moving.
After the last 2 rounds, though, Byrd finally knows he's been in against Evander Holyfield. Prior to that, he might have had some questions.
See Byrd just step in there with a straight left and get a knockdown. So I'm in the heavyweight picture.
Lennox Lewis couldn't knock Evander Holyfield down. It'd be shocking if Chris Byrd could. Byrd seems for the moment to have stemmed the tide of the Holyfield rally in rounds 10 and 11. He's gone back to beating Evander to the punch and fighting him in the center of the ring.
Yeah, it takes a lot of energy to do what Evander is doing. Throwing a lot of hard shots. I mean, it takes energy. He's even connecting with that left hook to the body on the southpaw.
There were times in the fight when Evander seemed to be trying to conserve his energy. He's let it hang out a lot more in the last couple of rounds. But Byrd's winning the 12.
Come on. Now it's time to see the fight.
Holyfield was one of the last active fighters to actually participate in a 15-round fight early in his career against Dwight Muhammad Qawi. Maybe if he had 3 more rounds tonight, but he doesn't.
He didn't end the fight running away, Byrd did. He ended the fight fighting.
Let's keep in mind, Evander Holyfield has a record of 10-0 in Atlantic City. He is the star. He is Evander Holyfield.
So you're saying that you won't be surprised if these scorecards are considerably closer than the one Harold has kept during the fight.
Yep.
Is that right, Larry?
You got that right.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
I think none of us would be surprised if these scorecards are closer.
And the good thing about it, these fighters signed with Dunn King, and they're always in the title picture. There's no promoter who can produce like that.
A look back at highlights from throughout the fight. Chris Byrd's effective aggression as continually he stepped forward, threw the jab, beat Evander Holyfield to the punch, made Holyfield respond to him. Far more frequently did Byrd dominate the action at center of the ring than were the occasions when Holyfield was able to get him to the ropes, make him square up, and fight his fight. But it did happen sometimes.
It was a good fight also.
Fun fight to watch.
It was a fun fight. One guy boxing, the other guy trying to slug it out. That's what makes for good boxing matches. Holyfield was frustrated throughout the fight, but he kept fighting. That speaks a lot about Evander Holyfield.
Harold Letterman's final scorecard, 117-111, favoring Chris Byrd. That means 9 rounds to 3 favor of Byrd. So Harold gave Holyfield the 1st, the 10th, and the 11th, and all the remaining rounds to Byrd. Now you've heard George Foreman and Larry Merchant, and I'll chime in with them, saying none of us will be surprised if the official scorecards are something considerably closer than Harold Letterman's 117-111. That in the entertainment business is what we call a tease.
But Holyfield ended a lot of those rounds really tough. Last 10 seconds trying to steal the rounds like Muhammad Ali used to do, his Bird's corner said.
All right, George, let's find out who won the fight. Jimmy Lennon Jr. with the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, John Stewart, scores about 116 to 112. Judges Eugene Grant and Steve Weisfeld both scored about 117 to 111. All three in favor of the winner of the IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World, Chris Byrd.
So the judges do see the same fight Harold Letterman saw, and Chris Byrd gets his well-deserved victory over Evander Holyfield. And with that, Byrd has his coveted holy grail, a heavyweight title belt, and perhaps a foothold toward bigger fights. Final CompuBox numbers: Holyfield landing 102 out of 344. Byrd landing 150 more punches, throwing 403 more punches in the fight, and landing at a higher connect percentage. All of these numbers demonstrating the effect of Byrd outboxing Holyfield. Holyfield dispensing with the jab after landing only 3 of 37. Byrd sticking to the jab as his primary staple most of the fight, 154 out of 525. Larry Merchant stands by in the ring with the winner, Chris Byrd.
Thank you very much, Jim. Congratulations, Chris. You said it would be easy. Was it easy?
Oh, heck no. Man, he is a true warrior. You know, he is such a smart fighter. He got rest when I'm up there waiting. He'll throw his big bombs and get rest. His defense is you know, something you can't really get past. I can't even say the word.
Yeah, but you're being very modest, Chris, because you beat him to the punch all night long.
Oh yeah, I did that. The warrior in him, I wanted to show the world I can stay in there and trade with these guys. He wasn't hurt me. He's a strong fat guy, but I know I can get in there and trade with him. If I get a little more stronger, I think I'll take these guys out.
You threw more stiff, hard punches than we are accustomed to seeing you fight. Do you feel now that you're a true heavyweight?
Oh, yeah. Anybody over 220 pounds. I feel like I grew, like I told you, after the Tua fight, I really feel like a heavyweight. I really feel good.
Did you think, knowing he's Evander Holyfield, knowing how desperate he seemed at the end, that he still might come through with something that's unexpected?
Always. He was throwing so hard. And I knew, and those lights got me real hot, and I got a little dehydrated in the later rounds, so I was like, forget it, I can sit there and trade with this guy, try to make him miss. The crowd would roar, but he wasn't hitting me with any clean punches. It looked good, though.
You've been very patient and persevered through a lot of times when people didn't want to fight you because of the way you fight, because you're not the big heavyweight. Tell us what this journey has meant to you to get to this destination.
Oh, so much. I had so many naysayers saying, Byrd, he's not, he got good skills, but he's not big enough. He never can compete with the big guys. I think I proved tonight that I can compete with anybody. Evander Holyfield fought toe-to-toe with the best guys in the world, and these guys wasn't willing to sit there and trade with him. A lot of guys are trading and then roll out. At times, I traded with one of the greatest heavyweights of all times.
So it seems you feel proud not only of your victory, but the way you fought him.
Oh yeah, I got in there and fight for once. I got something you won't dog me out on. I got in there and got the kind of fight that the crowd paid for at times, and at times I used my boxing skills and just got around.
Thank you very much, Chris Byrd.
Thanks, my Lord and Savior,
Congratulations
Jesus
again.
Christ. Amen.
All right, Evander Holyfield. Thank you, Evander. whenever the fight you've been in has gone to the decision, you've said, well, it's up to the judges. I have no control of that. Did you feel tonight that you were beaten in this fight?
First, you know, I like to thank the Lord, and you know, I do think that he scored more punches, whether it was effective or not. But he was able to keep me off balance about, you know, holding his hand out there a lot, and I wasn't able to get to him close enough to be effective like I did in the last few rounds.
You said before the fight that the secret to fighting him is to just throw punches at the target instead of through them. But do you get so frustrated that you feel you got to get him with something and you got to wing something hard at him?
Well, not really. It just, you know, I get in this fight and it's, you know, hurt my left shoulder, and I couldn't him up because I couldn't use my left hand.
When did that happen?
Yeah, after the first round, it was just like, well, you pray and I can go to the body, but I just couldn't lift it up to go ahead. I like to throw left hooks.
That happened when you fought another southpaw, Michael Moore.
Michael Moore, and I realized that, he allowed me, to get clean shots because I was able to counter at time that I made him feel that he can come in. And so every time we got in a fight, I would be able to get the best, but, he had a good corner to tell him to box. And, along that he would box, even though it wasn't hurt, he just...
But he was beating you to the punch, and he was throwing more stiff punches, if not really hurting punches, than perhaps even you expected.
Well, it kept me at bay. And, because anytime you don't have a lead hand to set up to throw the right hand, you're off balance a lot. And I found myself off balance a lot. And, he was just able to throw the punches that was necessary to.
Do you think he made you fight your age tonight, or is it just his peculiar style that made you that way?
Well, styles make fight. And, just like no one wanted to fight him because he do have a very elusive style, and I wasn't able to be aggressive as much as I need to make him fight like the last 3 rounds.
So can we assume from what you said before the fight, from what you're saying now, that the goal of still becoming heavyweight champion is still there and you will continue to fight?
It's still there, and my goal is still to be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Thank you, Evander. Back to you, Jim.
All right, thank you very much, Larry Merchant. Well, you wondered about Evander during the fight. You seemed to feel like something was missing. Is the hurt left shoulder a plausible explanation for that?
No, there's no explanation. He lost fair and square, but the guy was jabbing him on that left shoulder, kept jabbing him under the heart. And you think you've lost your shoulder, but it's actually you've been taken out of the fight and not even aware of it. But Chris B4rd, slick as they get.
Yeah, no, but B4rd believes that he's improved in his wins over Tua and now over Holiyfield. Would you give him a shot against Lewis and the other bigger fighters in the division?
He's elusive enough to avoid those big punches. Somebody's going to have to come out with a style just as dynamic as he is, one way or another. Nobody's come up with it thus far. Lewis do better to go for the big money fights and leave this guy alone. He doesn't need him.
And that seems to be what Lennox is leaning toward doing. Larry, your final thoughts on Chris B4rd's conquest of Evander Holyfield before we move forward to some other business in the telecast?
Well, it's not a sentimental game in the ring. In the ring, you got to be able to do it. The truth comes out, and a fighter like Chris B4rd will expose an older fighter.
And Evander Holyfield has only won 2 of his last 7 fights. Maybe at age 40, his tour of duty near the top of the division is finally over. Meanwhile, 3 weeks ago when we were here for Ward Gaddy, that was our 500th championship prize fight on HBO.